She had always lived a peaceful life. From the small village she called home, to the green fields that stretched around her house, everything seemed calm and ordinary. Her name was Amina, and she was known for her gentle nature and kindness. People in the village trusted her, and children often followed her on the narrow paths of the village just to hear her laugh or see her smile. She dreamed of helping others, of one day making a difference beyond the boundaries of her small home. Her days were simple but full, spent tending to the garden, helping neighbors, and enjoying quiet moments under the shade of old trees. One bright morning, Amina set out to fetch water from the nearby well. The sun was just rising, painting the sky with shades of pink and orange. She carried her clay pot carefully, enjoying the cool breeze on her face. But today, unlike any other, her steps were followed by someone she did not expect. At first, she thought it was coincidence. Perhaps someone was simply walking the same path. But when she turned slightly, she saw him. A man she had noticed before in the village. A stranger with eyes that seemed to hold an unusual intensity. There was something about his gaze that made her uneasy. She felt a small shiver run down her spine, but she told herself it was nothing. As she drew nearer to the well, the man stepped closer. "Please, don't touch me," she said softly but firmly, her voice shaking just a little. It was a simple plea, yet her eyes carried the weight of caution and fear. She hoped he would leave, that he would understand the boundaries she was trying to set. But he didn't. Instead, he moved closer, ignoring her words. She tried to step back, to put distance between them. But he mirrored her movements. Amina's heart raced, her breaths coming in quick, shallow gasps. She remembered the lessons her parents had taught her about staying calm in times of fear, about being brave even when her body trembled. She tried to steady herself. She looked around, hoping someone would appear, but the path was quiet, empty. The encounter, though brief, left her shaken. She ran back to her home, her steps fast and uneven. Once inside, she locked the door and leaned against it, trying to slow her heartbeat. Her mind was a storm of emotions: fear, anger, confusion, and determination. How could someone in her own village act this way? How could he ignore her words? She realized that she could not stay silent. She needed help, guidance, and protection. The next day, Amina confided in her parents. Her father's face turned serious as she explained everything. Her mother held her hand tightly, offering comfort, while her father spoke in a calm but firm voice about the importance of taking action. "We will not let anyone harm you," he said. "You have courage, and together, we will ensure your safety." Word of the incident began to spread in the village. Amina had always been respected, and people listened to her story with concern and empathy. Some villagers offered advice, others promised support, and a few volunteered to stay nearby to watch over her. A sense of unity began to grow, a quiet determination to ensure that she would not face danger alone. Despite the support, Amina's fear lingered. Every sound outside her window made her jump. Every shadow seemed threatening. She felt the weight of the previous day pressing down on her. Yet, she refused to let it control her life. She reminded herself that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to move forward even while afraid. The man, however, did not stop. He continued to lurk near the edges of the village, a constant reminder of the danger she had faced. Amina learned to be cautious, to trust her instincts, and to rely on her community. She noticed how the villagers began to watch over each other more carefully. Friends would accompany her on errands, neighbors would check in regularly, and a small network of support formed almost naturally. Amina also began to document everything. She kept a notebook where she wrote down every detail of her encounter, every suspicious movement she noticed. She wanted to be prepared, to ensure that if anything happened again, she would have evidence and witnesses to help her. Writing became a way to release some of her fear, to turn her anxiety into action. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, she walked to the edge of the village with a few friends. They spoke softly, making plans to approach the elders and share their concerns. The elders, wise and respected, listened carefully. They had lived through difficult times themselves and knew the importance of standing together. They promised to take the matter seriously, to ensure that the man would not have the opportunity to harm anyone again. Throughout all of this, Amina found herself growing stronger. Each day, she faced her fear a little more, walking with her friends, speaking openly about her experience, and refusing to be silenced. The support of her family and community became a shield around her, a source of strength she could lean on when her own courage wavered. Late at night, when the village was quiet, Amina would sometimes think about what had happened. She reflected on the importance of speaking up, of trusting her instincts, and of seeking help. She realized that bravery came in many forms, not just in fighting back physically, but in standing tall, sharing her story, and allowing others to help. As days passed, the tension in the village grew. People were alert, watching, and prepared to act. The man, aware that the village was aware of his actions, seemed uneasy. The balance of power was shifting, slowly but surely. Amina, though still cautious, began to feel a glimmer of hope. She knew that the next steps were crucial, that the support of her community could make all the difference. Then, word spread that a larger group was gathering. A group of brave individuals committed to protecting her and ensuring that justice was served. It was as if the entire village had come together, united by a shared sense of right and wrong. Though Amina did not know the full details yet, she felt reassured. She realized that she was not alone, that courage could multiply when shared, and that the community could rise like a shield around those in need. In the days that followed, Amina continued to live her life with care and determination. She tended to her garden, helped her neighbors, and walked with her friends, always mindful but never giving in to fear completely. Her story became an example to others, a reminder that even in the face of danger, bravery, resilience, and unity could prevail. And though the shadow of the previous day lingered, Amina held on to hope. She knew that change was coming, that her courage had inspired others, and that together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. She looked forward to the day when peace would return fully, confident that the strength of her spirit and the support of her community would carry her through. The next morning, the village awoke with a sense of purpose. Word had spread quickly about the danger Amina had faced, and the elders had called together a group of villagers who were determined to protect her and restore peace. They were not warriors in the sense of swords and shields, but people filled with courage, strength, and a deep sense of justice. Their mission was simple yet powerful: ensure Amina's safety and confront the man who had caused fear in the village. Amina watched from her home as the villagers gathered in the central square. Men and women of all ages came forward, united by a shared desire to stand against wrongdoing. Friends she had grown up with, neighbors she had helped in countless small ways, even some strangers who had heard her story. They all joined together. It was as if the entire village had become one living shield around her. She felt a mix of relief and awe. For the first time since the incident, she truly believed she would not face this alone. The group approached the outskirts of the village, where the man had been seen lingering. He appeared surprised at the number of people who had come together, a quiet fear in his eyes. He had not expected the village to respond so decisively. The elders spoke calmly but firmly, reminding him of the importance of respecting others and the consequences of harming anyone. Their voices carried authority and wisdom, and it was clear that the village would not tolerate further danger. Amina stepped forward, standing tall despite the nerves fluttering in her chest. She looked directly at him and spoke with clarity and courage. "You cannot frighten me, "And you cannot harm anyone here," she said. Her voice was steady, and though her heart pounded, she felt the strength of her community behind her. Every nod, every supportive glance from the villagers reinforced her courage. The man lowered his eyes, realizing that he was no longer alone in his actions, that the power of fear could no longer intimidate him. The elders guided the situation toward a peaceful resolution. They ensured that the man would be held accountable through proper channels. Whether it was mediation, community oversight, or legal measures, there was no need for violence. The village's unity and determination were enough to ensure justice. As the situation was being resolved, the villagers stayed close to Amina. They walked with her through the paths she had once walked alone, ensuring that she felt safe every step of the way. Children ran alongside, laughter returning to the village streets as a reminder that peace could be restored. Friends shared quiet words of encouragement, and elders offered guidance on moving forward. In these moments, Amina realized the incredible strength of collective action, the way courage could grow exponentially when shared among people who cared deeply for one another. Over the next days, the village organized meetings to discuss how to prevent such incidents in the future. They created watch groups, supported one another, and reinforced the idea that everyone had a role to play in keeping the community safe. Amina was invited to speak at these gatherings, sharing her experience and the lessons she had learned. Her words were filled with honesty, hope, and determination. She spoke of fear, of courage, and of the power of standing together. Every person who listened felt inspired to be stronger, kinder, and more vigilant in their own way. Amina also took time for herself. She returned to her garden, tending to her plants with care, finding peace in the simple routines of life. She enjoyed quiet walks under the old trees, feeling the wind on her face and the warmth of the sun. Slowly, the fear that had once seemed overwhelming began to fade. She knew it would not disappear entirely, but she felt ready to face each day with renewed confidence. Her community continued to support her. Neighbors checked in regularly, friends accompanied her to the market, and elders shared stories of their own experiences with courage and resilience. Each act, no matter how small, reminded her that she was never alone. The villagers had become more than neighbors. They had become a family united by respect, care, and a commitment to justice. The man who had caused fear in the village was monitored closely by the elders and village watch groups. He was given opportunities to correct his behavior, and the message from the community was clear. Everyone had a choice to change, but harm would not be tolerated. Over time, the man began to understand the importance of respect and the consequences of his actions. The village had not only protected Amina, but had also shown that guidance and accountability could lead to growth and change. Amina's life gradually returned to normal, but she carried with her the lessons of courage and community. She realized that fear, while natural, could be overcome with support and determination. She became more confident in speaking up, in asking for help when needed, and in trusting the people around her. Her story spread beyond the village, inspiring others to stand together in the face of challenges. The experience also strengthened her relationships. Her family grew closer, sharing more openly about their feelings and supporting one another with greater care. Friends became lifelong allies, bound by the shared experience of protecting one another. The village, once quiet and routine, now thrived with a renewed sense of unity, empathy, and vigilance. People looked out for each other in ways both big and small, and the sense of community became a source of pride for everyone. Amina reflected often on the courage that had carried her through those difficult days. She understood that bravery was not just about facing danger alone, but about accepting help, trusting others, and standing together with strength and dignity. Her story became a symbol in the village, a reminder that fear could be transformed into courage and that unity could overcome even the most daunting challenges. One morning, as she walked through the village square, Amina noticed children playing freely. Villagers greeting each other warmly, and the sun shining brightly over her home. She smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the people who had stood with her. The 300 warriors, as some had jokingly called the group of villagers who had come together, were not warriors in armor, but guardians of kindness, courage, and justice. Their actions had shown her that real strength comes from compassion, solidarity, and a willingness to do what is right. Amina knew that life would continue to have challenges, that fear might visit her again in different forms. But she also knew she had the power to face them, not alone, but with the support of her community and the courage she had discovered within herself. She felt ready to embrace her dreams, to help others, and to continue living a life filled with hope, determination, and compassion. Her story spread far beyond the village, inspiring neighboring communities to come together in the same spirit of courage and protection. People spoke of the young woman who had stood strong, of the community that had risen together, and of the lessons learned about fear, bravery, and unity. Amina became an example, not because of what had happened to her, but because of how she responded with courage, resilience, and unwavering hope. As evening fell on the village, Amina sat by the edge of her garden, watching the sky turn shades of pink and gold. She reflected on the journey she had endured, the fear she had felt, and the strength she had discovered. She thought of the people who had stood by her, the lessons learned, and the promise of a future where courage and compassion guided her path. A sense of peace washed over her, knowing that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she would face them with bravery, supported by a community that cared deeply. And so, life in the village continued, brighter and stronger than before. She had faced fear, sought justice, and discovered the power of unity. Through her experience, she learned that courage was contagious, that helping one person could inspire many, and that even in the darkest times, light could shine when people stood together.